Members of Parliament angered by news that the envoy reported on duty despite recommendation that she renounces her American citizenship first. So she has done this without renouncing it. Well, it's going to raise another issue, or so to speak. Remember, before she was appointed or before this was approved, there's been a lot of hullabaloo as to whether she should be the right candidate or not. So Speaker Justin Muturi says that this is a serious matter and we cannot have it listed for Tuesday afternoon because I'm aware of the team's findings. We'll be looking at details of that and we see whether it is political witch hunt, whether it is genuine for her to be stormed over, or what exactly was agreed upon before she was able to get this position. Away from it, Mangi's lucky escape. Kisii Deputy Governor recounts his lucky escape after his official car was involved in a fatal accident on Bomet Narok Road with border riders and quarry workers baying for his blood. The mob torched his vehicle, or the vehicle, which was an unfortunate occurrence even as he was proceeding to Nairobi. And we've been able to also speak to him, and we also have details of the same as compiled by my team. But indeed, such an unfortunate occurrence that is under investigation. The missing man, just how is he missing? The DP, that is Deputy President William Ruto, left out all the government top-level meeting at State House, at which President Uhuru tells cabinet members they are either with him or Ruto, and asks those unwilling to toe the line to quit. That is a story captured on page 4. And according to him, as captured on the Star newspaper, he says that he wasn't invited to this particular meeting by President Uhuru Kenyatta, hence the reason why he was missing in action. Now, the projects that President Uhuru Kenyatta seeks to, spearhead are the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030 flagship projects to consolidate his legacy. And the BBI, President Uhuru Kenyatta wants state officers to go out there and counter narrative against Building Bridges initiative, and importantly, the aspect of unity. His task is to ensure a united country before he retires from a State House after next year's election. Now, I mean, this has been the key things that he has promised the people of Kenya. Well, the Big Four, which at some point also he acknowledged that there's some level of sabotage, and maybe he might not be lucky enough to realize this, but all the same, he says what? He will soldier on. Just how realistic is this? Is one of the key things that I love for the guests that I'll have on board to tell us some more about. What is captured on the Standard newspaper and the Daily Nation? Well, let's pick the Daily Nation first. And 13 new national tests to replace KCPE and KCSE. So performance will guide placement in secondary and university. This is a story that is captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. Under the new curriculum, learners in primary school will sit 5 assessments set by the national examiner and take another 8 in junior and senior secondary. Now, the test will be administered and marked by the teachers, but NEC will keep record of results to monitor progress. And this is a story that is captured on page 8. This is in the incorporation of competency-based curriculum, even as we struggle on just how realistic, again, it is for us to be able to adapt this system and some of the discrepancies that are witnessed courtesy of it, and just how best we'd be able to handle them to proceed or to forge forward. That is on matters education. We discussed that, we expound that, and also my team, the editorial team, is preparing a comprehensive report and a coverage of, getting us through that session of understanding what CBC is all about and how best, as a people, as, parents and as teachers, as the Ministry of Education, we can, have a conversation revolving around this, just to get to understand what the Ministry of Education envisions and how this can be achieved. Matters politics, Raila woos Kitui and Kibwana as a 2022 realignment starts, and ODM leader Raila Odinga chats with Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana and former UNCTAD boss Muhiza Kitui and CIA Senator James Orengo, as captured on that particular picture. That is yesterday they had this session. Well, details of what they spoke about keep coming out as of now, but most importantly, what was noted was the aspect of 2022 realignment programs. And so just how realistic, not necessarily realistic, but just what are the plans? I remember Muhiza Kitui declared his bid for presidency when he landed into the country on Sunday. And so we wait to see whether he plans to work together with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga or maybe quash out this conversation that has been there, that is probably a project. And equally, remember, there's been that push that, Kivuda Kibwana should also go it out there and, try this out. So we'll wait to see what will culminate out of this. As always with politics, you say, a day is like a century. And so we wait to see what the conversations were about and what this would mean, even as we all are aware that there are likelihoods that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga would as well, proceed to, speak of his own interest on matters presidency. Away from that particular story, let's look at other stories. President Uhuru Kenyatta still on matters politics. Is it a cold war? Is it what is happening? Just what is burning down there in the Jubilee? Now, Ruto locked out of Uhuru cabinet meeting yet again. This as Deputy President allies claim their boss was not invited into the meeting or senior government officials, during which the president demanded completion of his key legacy projects, a story captured on page 4. Well, one would want to understand why the president would decide not to have his second in command, and knowing very well that this is a crucial document, this is a crucial meeting that seeks to ensure that their legacy, because, well, they were elected as two, is something that is going to be instrumental. And remember, based on how they perform is also one thing that would be an advantage to Deputy President William Ruto if at all he wants to go out there and battle it out for matters presidency, as he has declared, because then again he would probably campaign on basis of what it is that they have done for the people, and so that would be an added advantage to him. A story captured on page 4 of the Daily Nation, even as the conversation on matters referendum is here and getting it even more. 11 counties passed BBI bill, now only 13 to go. That is Kisii, Nairobi, Laikipia, Vihiga yesterday joined Siaya, Homa Bay, Kisumu, Busia, West Pokot, Trans Nzoia and Kajiado passing the bill. And also one, that is Laikipia, yes, from Central, is one. And so remember, threshold is 24. The moment they are able to get the 24 county assemblies passing this document, then it's going to be a clean bill of health for this particular document. So we wait to see. It has been quashed by Baringo, as said, and so we look forward to see as to what it is that will play out. A story captured on page 5 of the Daily Nation. And on matters economy, it's getting bad, it's getting nasty, it's getting tight. Broke government now raids cash-rich parastatals for funds. Now the Treasury has drawn more than about 23 billion shillings from state corporations in 11 months, signaling a biting cash crunch in government caused by missed tax collection targets. That is a story captured on the back page. I will still talk on matters economy and just how the taxpayer should, brace themselves for their pockets to be pinched even harder, as the Ministry of Health seeks to ensure that they've been able to sustain the budget of the country, or sustain what it is that they will have set come June, July, and importantly also service the debt that is getting right top and beyond the ceiling. Drug agency clears COVID-19 vaccine, and here we are. The Pharmacy and Poisons Board yesterday cleared the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine for use in the country. And so Kenya is expecting about 24 million doses of vaccine sometime next week, according to Health CAS Mercy Mwangange. It would mean following suit, to countries like South Africa and Rwanda here in Africa. And we get to see how it gets into the country and just how many people will be able to be lucky enough to get this, and how instrumental it would be on the fight against COVID-19. So much captured right there. We leave the papers as at now as we await our guests so that they can help us go through the same extensively. That is later as they get to join us onto the roads. What is happening this Friday morning? Fridays are normally not bad, but we see and just probably briefly look at what it looks like this morning. And here we are right at the center. Let's take a look at some of the key roads where there is traffic. Yes, this is Thika Road evidently. When you look at around Mathare Mental Hospital, that is as you headed to town. Let's go a bit down and see whether there's any cause for alarm. As always, we start from around Githurai there. And so here is Githurai, some bit of traffic around there. Let's proceed on. As you headed to town, you realize from town there's not much traffic on Thika Road as always. And then here we are. There is a bit of traffic somewhere around the USIU, that is Safari Park. And so, and if you know you're taking that direction, you know what to expect. And then here we are. We get also a bit of traffic somewhere around Mathare Mental Hospital. And so if you're taking that direction, you know, it can be heavy there, even as you get to connect to, you know, Muthaiga and Muranga Road and all that, landing yourself into somewhere around Pangani, then it eases up as you proceed to town. So there's that traffic, heavy traffic for that matter, somewhere around these connections that are normally there and at Muthaiga. And so if you're taking that direction, you know what to expect. This one though, around Muthaiga Road, Red Hill Road, Kitusuri, Gigiri, Roslyn Academy, Runda, all these other areas, the roads are not looking bad this morning, even as we land at Northern Bypass, which is normally very busy nowadays. Northern Bypass doesn't look that bad. That is Northern Bypass all the way from the sides of, you know, where you connect to Thika Road on coming down to Ruaka. There's not much of traffic. That is Limuru Road. Limuru Road is not looking so bad this morning, apart from some bits where around Tenderu there that you get some bit of traffic, but it eases up all the same. And other directions, let's see whether there's another place where there's traffic. Mombasa Road. Let's briefly look at what Mombasa Road looks like. On these sides of Cabanas, Nairobi SGR, Terminus, Syokimau, there is so much traffic around there. So this is Mombasa Road. It doesn't look so good this Friday morning. And so if you're taking this direction, you know what to expect around Cabanas area there, Imara Daima, all the way from Syokimau. It looks a little bit bad this morning, but going down, it eases up from around there. And all the way again, you get to this point where, you know, you are around South B, South C there, Bellevue, then you get some bit of traffic, and then you proceed on to this other side around somewhere. The Nyayo National Stadium is where you get some brief traffic, but then again, it eases up as you connect to Uhuru Highway and all that. Muranga Road is not looking bad. I think we've looked at that also. And this side of Lusaka Road is not so bad this morning, so no cause for alarm. But then again, if you're taking that direction, you certainly know what it is that you expect. Jogoo Road is also not so good this morning. This is somewhere around Makadara, as always. That is notorious on matters traffic. And Manyanja Road is also, you know, so there's some bit of traffic somewhere around there, but then again, it is not as ugly. And so we'll be here to update you accordingly. This is Mombasa Road, not looking so good this morning. Ngong Road is not bad, as you can see. All this is Ngong Road. Ngong Road A2 and from town is not looking as ugly. Somewhere around James Gishuru is equally very good this morning. And Gitanga Road, on the other hand, on the other side as you headed to Kawangware, is also not looking bad. Waiyaki Way is not as bad this morning. All this is Waiyaki Way. And going all the way to the sides of Chiromo, not looking bad this morning. So I think we'll leave it at that on matters traffic. Anything that crops up, as always, it's my pleasure to keep you up to speed. And so, before we get to the other businesses of the day, the other Friday we had that Valentine's edition that was really incredible, and we are grateful for the numerous feedback that we got. And as always, every other Friday we ensure that you are gifted. We celebrate you courtesy of Valentine's Cake House, and so today, as always, we'll be having 2 vouchers of cakes for 2 people. I mean, it's always as simple as possible. Go to our social media platforms, tell us who is this one person that you love to celebrate. What is this one thing that you love to celebrate? What is this one thing that you love to toast to? Is it yourself? And the person with the best of answers, or maybe the first person to do this and to share and get as many likes as possible, we get to award them vouchers. So we'll be having 2 people that will be getting these vouchers that they can go and redeem and get a cake from any Valentine's Cake House branch across the country. But importantly, we also need to acknowledge what played out and the sponsors that worked with us during that particular session on the Valentine's editions. And we had a very incredible moment. And just to celebrate the few individuals that were able to be winners of the Mizizi offer, that is Mizizi Africa Homes, that allowed us 2 trips for couples, courtesy of Morning Cafe, to the coast. The deadline is on the 28th of this month, or technically, they would go out to the coast any day of this month, or any weekend, or any moment, 2 days that they choose of this month. And so Mizizi Africa Homes got a chance to appreciate these 2 individuals. And now let's take a look at that as we get to proceed.
My name is George Mboro from Mizizi Africa Homes Limited. I'm the CEO. And over the Valentine season, we promised that the people who are going to be more active, in other words, we call them our keyboard warriors, in sharing about Valentine, talking about Mizizi, what we are doing. We were going to accord them a 2 night and 3 days tour to Mombasa, and I'm happy to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe you are one of the most active.
Sure, I'm one of the most active. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, I'm very happy.
Yes.
That I won this vacay because actually I've never been to that place, and it is an amazing feeling.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
To Mizizi Africa.
Thank you. So once you go, make sure that you also keep us posted.
Sure.
Make sure you let us know how was the feeling, how you will enjoy the stay, and also continue sharing about Mizizi Africa Homes Limited. You can also visit our site so that also you can tell people it is true. Something you have never done can become a reality, and it happens when you come to Mizizi Africa Homes Limited. And you are a young person, you can talk to young people, they can own affordable homes. These things are very possible. So I'm very excited to hand you over this voucher, whereby you'll be going for 2 nights, and you'll also be using an air ticket.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So everything is catered, the meals, everything will be well taken care of. We have partnered with a travel agency called Best Buy. They call themselves Best Buy Travel Solutions. So they'll be taking you, and you'll also tell us the experience. And we are happy because it is also a customer, one of us, one of our clients who does this. And I really believe you'll have a good time, and you'll give a testimony of how it went.
Sure. Thank you very much. I really appreciate.
Thank you, and much congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Asante sana.
Stay blessed.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Mizizi Africa Homes, for appreciating our viewer for us, or courtesy of us, and we're grateful for that. That is just one of the people who won that there too. And well, for formalities, we can just play that one to confirm that indeed these people were able to get the same. And now let's get to a different business altogether. That is the newspaper depth review, review in depth, so to speak. So we'll be having Njuguna Mwangi, governance expert, who joins us this morning. It's been a minute, Njuguna. I don't know where you disappeared to, or it's because we had the Valentine's edition last week that we didn't have you, right?
Yeah, thank you, Rida,
Yes.
and good morning.
Good morning.
No, I've not run away from TV47. You know, this is our home.
Yes.
And, this is where Kenyans really enjoy getting information that is actually been not distorted.
Yeah.
So, but the Valentine season was good, and I think Friday we are not together with you because of those activities.
Yeah.
But all in all, we are doing fine, and we are still watching how our country is really progressing.
Indeed.
So things are good. I hope you're also fine.
I am fine, and I thank God. We are pushing on very well, and we're grateful that at least you managed to be here this morning. And so I'll be having Mwangi squared, so to speak, and governance expert squared, because Dr. Moses Mwangi is also joining us via Skype this morning, and there'll be the gentleman who will take us through all the way to 7:30. Good morning, sir. Dr. good morning. I'm not able to hear Dr. well, but all the same, it's okay. I'm sure we're going to fix that as we proceed. Let's briefly take a look at the papers. We have the papers. Yes, we have the papers, the Daily Nation, the Standard newspaper. I don't know whether I'm able to stretch to where it is that you are. Here is this is the Daily Nation. And so, yes, what does the Daily Nation detail or speak about this morning? I have it on screen. And straight to it, Julius. 13 new national tests to replace KCPE and KCSE. This all in preparation or in trying to incorporate the competency-based curriculum. I do not know whether you feel like we have been ready indeed. The other day we're trying to just understand some of the nitty-gritty details of the transition processes that would be there on the competency-based curriculum. And in as much as we have appreciated this and we have taken it, the rollout process is proving to be a bit complicated, but all the same, the Ministry of Health says it is determined to ensure that this is a success. So a lot of assessment processes that will be there, and so much so. As I've said, this is a story that is detailed on page 8 of the Daily Nation. What do you make of this transition? A good transition, instrumental in terms of making education better in the country?
So, leader, I think, in my opinion, this new system of education is actually long overdue. It's one of the good things that are really happening in our education sector, because if you look at the 844 system that we most of us have gone through, it has been so much oriented on just the job market and in terms of the books, what you are able to grasp from the books. But you realize that many people who really have good talents and good other strengths apart from the books have actually gotten lost in the way.
Yeah.
And I think this new system will actually bring a new a hope to the Kenyans and to the children of these days. Because if you look at what has actually been happening, I always say that we have 3 different types of education. There is what we call scholastic education, which was very, very good and very important during the 19th century. Because those people, the scholastic education is the one that teaches us how to read, write, and do maths. That was very, very important during the 19th century. But in the 20th century, we had what we call professional education. And actually that is what most of us are actually relying on. Some are doctors, some are accountants, others are teachers, and so on and so forth. But in this 21st century, I think the system that we need should be a system that does not need you, actually equips the learner to become even a job creator, rather than just becoming a job seeker. So, and this system, the CBC system, somehow brings us to that line. Because right now, those people who are doing 844 system have actually been struggling. Today, as we talk, I know several friends of mine who have gone all the way to even masters, getting master's degree, and they are busy with the Kazi Mtaani system. So this CBC, I think it is going to give a new hope to our people, and we must welcome this good move. It's always good to appreciate where the government is really doing well. If you look at something like the TVET that our government is actually very passionate about, I think that is another milestone in our education sector, because many people who are actually going to those TVET are those who would have otherwise gotten lost on the way because they did not perform very well
and find their way to campus.
Yes. So
that's true.
I think this is a good system, and we need to welcome it.
Indeed. Stages of the CBC assessment: grade 3, formative assessment grade 4, formative assessment grade 5, formative assessment grade 6, formative assessment and summative assessment end of primary school, grade 7, formative assessment grade 8, formative assessment grade 9, formative and summative assessment, and that is the end of junior secondary, grade 10, formative assessment, 11, formative assessment, and 12, formative and summative assessment, end of senior secondary, and so much so all these assessments will be carried out. And I'd love for us to hear what it is that Dr. Moses has to say in regards to this. He's been, but then again, we've not been able to get a hold of him. He's a parent, he's a leader, he's been there maybe throughout, and observing some of the systems or the numerous systems of, education that we've had, and maybe would be able to give us a view of that, that was there initially before the 844, then came in the 844. 844, and just now coming in of the CBC and how instrumental it would be. But then again, before we get a hold of him, let's proceed with the other stories that are captured on the Daily Nation. And still on the front page, we find there's matters politics, but importantly, there's the aspect of what we face today on matters economy. It is not getting better on matters economy, as captured on the back page of the Daily Nation. And also, briefly on the front page, broke government now raids cash rich parastatals for funds.
Linda, we have been discussing these matters of the public debts and the economic status of our country. And I think Kenyans are actually, they have suffered for long. And we have really discussed this for so long, and it seems like the government is not very keen into really following the professional advices. Because if you look at the status of our nation today, there are two ratios that are very key when we are determining the economy of the economic status of our nation.
Yeah.
One of the ratios is what we call the debt service to revenue ratio. The debt service is what we are supposed to pay every year to service our debts, our public debts. According to IMF and economists, the advice, they always tell us that we should never exceed 30%. That ratio should not go beyond 30%. During the Moi Kibaki era, by the time President Moi Kibaki was retiring, he had managed to stabilize our nation such that the debt service to revenue ratio had been able to go below 30%, which was 29.9% by 2012. With this regime, the Jubilee government, we have now moved beyond the recommendation from 30%. As we talk now, we are beyond 45%. That means we are going back to where Moi left us. If you look at the other ratio, which we call the public debts in relation to the GDP of the nation, IMF and economists advise us that it should not go beyond 50%. Moi Kibaki really struggled to bring back our nation and stabilize it. And by 2012, the public debt to GDP ratio had gone below 50%. And Moi Kibaki by 2012, it was 45.5%.
Right.
As we talk now, we have now gone back to where Moi left us, and we are now at 70%.
In terms of debt.
That simply means that we are getting deeper and deeper into problems. And the only solution that the Kenyan government is now have is just to go back to the pockets of the Kenyans through taxation. You have seen what has happened to the fuel prices, because they are trying to meet the deficit, the budget deficit for this year. And ironically, the global market, the prices of fuel are actually going down. Ironically, in Kenya, it's going up. This is quite interesting, and I think it is high time that the Treasury and the CEO of the nation, President Uhuru Kenyatta, take charge and stop just doing things that, sometimes the problem with Kenya is the priorities. We have our priorities upside down. Because right now, you can see, instead of thinking of how we are going to come out of that problem, we are busy thinking in terms about how to increase wage bill. Because wage bill has to increase with the BBI that they are just about to bring. And we can see, when we are struggling with all these debts, the president has the audacity to go and give 5 billions, about 4.5 billions to the MCAs, so that they can pass the BBI amendment bills.
What if the BBI amendment bill is a good, document that would give us a lot of progress that is in the future? Don't you think in most cases we've only asked for, the long-term solutions to the problems that we meet? I mean, this even captured as, of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta met the cabinet, that is Thursday, amid most of the talks of, the looming reshuffle, and also the reshuffle that he made AIDS the other day. And in as much as Deputy President William Ruto was missing in action, President Uhuru Kenyatta maintains that his biggest wish for the people of Kenya is one, the aspect of unity, the Big Four agenda, and the BBI. To him, these are key things that guarantee us a beautiful future ahead, that will give us long-term solutions to the problems. Why do you believe that BBI is not that one document that we can sacrifice the monies that we have right now for, but then eventually enjoy the fruits of it, or even our very own children enjoy the fruits of it? Because after all, some of these things that we fight for are not for us, but for, you know, the future generation.
You see, Linda, this matter of BBI is quite interesting, because in my opinion, it has been mutating just like the coronavirus. Because initially, they told us that they are bringing, they want to use the BBI document to unite Kenyans. And then they said, we want to bring inclusivity. And then they said, we want to make sure that there will be no post-election violence anytime we have those activities of elections. But then, when you look at the document, you look at the content of the document, you realize that it doesn't have really the solutions, because I want somebody to help me understand how, by introducing a post of the Prime Minister and the two deputies, how that will bring inclusivity, how it will cure the winner takes it all problem. Because when you look at the BBI proposals, these seats, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, actually the appointing authority remains the President. And so the President can choose who to elect or to appoint as the Prime Minister.
Right.
Of course, they are telling us that that person must come from the party with the majority in Parliament. But again, you realize that the process that they are giving us is that the President will give the name to the Speaker, then they vote, and then after they vote, if the Parliament is not happy with the appointment of the President, of course that person will not pass in Parliament.
Yeah.
So they go again and give another person. If they fail the second time, then the President, the BBI says, the President in his own opinion appoints another person, and that is final. So it simply means, if the President does not want to appoint or to give the post of Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister to particular communities, you can do nothing, because this person, the President, has been given the power to take or to appoint whoever he wants as a Prime Minister. So we have really not cured the problem of inclusivity. Then when it comes to issue of uniting Kenyans, today as we talk, Kenya is more divided than it was then. Why? Because, you know, absence of violence does not mean that there is peace. That is actually what we call negative peace, because it's only that people are not really demonstrating. But the challenges that are actually happening, or the people of Kenya, or Kenyans are actually going through, does not mean that just because they are not, they have no violence, that they are peaceful. What we are having today with the BBI, the way they are telling us that we will have peace after general election, they have not cured that, because we must ask ourselves, what has been causing this chaos? Why have we not been seeing or witnessing chaos for the Senate seats and all those other seats, even the governors and the members of Parliament? The only problems we have been having is on the presidential voting. Why has it been happening? It's simply because some people do not trust the institutions given by the Constitution, the mandate by the Constitution. So what we needed is actually to see or cure for those people who refuse to accept that they have been defeated. That is what has been bringing chaos in our country.
What makes you say there is no peace? Honestly, you know very well that after the handshake, we ran out from those moments where, you know, I mean, I don't know whether you've been in Nairobi all through, but you'd realize that sometimes it was hard. You would not even go to the city, because then you'd know very well that you expect the daily demonstrations and all that. So there was always that fear. You could not conduct your businesses right. And such animosity was also witnessed across different parts of the country. And to speak honestly, most of the people have said that, you know, it's been quite a relief right from that time, the handshake was there. And we all acknowledge that in as much as we talk of matters peace, not everyone would be in agreement to this. And but at least the level of which, if it's at 90%, then we are safe enough. Why do you argue that the country is more divided today as compared to what it was like back then, maybe say after the 2017 general elections?
You see, there is this principle by Mahatma Gandhi that says that it talks about the unity of purpose and the process and the goal, which tells us that if, for example, we want to cure inclusivity, then the process of achieving that goal must be in line with the goal. Right. But if you look at, for example, how like the task force for BBI was constituted, one thing you realize that it has not been inclusive, because it, according to many Kenyans, this is just a process that was spearheaded by only two people. They elected their own, they appointed their own allies in the task force. And that is why you can see there are a lot of questions about this BBI and the end goal. When you talk about the peace, even if we don't have violence in our country, remember the reason why we do not have violence is because one key leader in our country, and that is the Prime Minister Raila Odinga, has been incorporated in the government.
All right.
If he is outside, I believe things will be worse.
That is, does it not then justify what the BBI proposes, that if we have this winner takes it all thing, it's not a fair thing? And so if we can have that one person who can cause trouble and noise, and you just shell them and put them somewhere in their office for the sake of posterity, then well and good.
Okay, they are really diagnosing the real problem.
Yes.
But the solution they are giving us is actually wrong.
Okay.
Because what we are saying, look at it this way. In 2007, we had, for example, the leader of opposition. That post was there constitutionally. And that did not make Prime Minister Raila Odinga not, actually he never considered defeat. He is one guy who has never considered defeat.
But don't you think, well, based from what it is that we see, later on, the revelations that have been there, like, the elections were stolen and all that, why would you want him to concede defeat when he genuinely knows, and maybe he has apparatus, mechanisms of getting to know whether he won or he did not? Why wouldn't it be unfair for us to expect him to concede defeat, knowing very well that he probably was not defeated? That is exactly why Constitution gives us the process of appealing. If you're not very happy with the results, there are mechanisms of getting justice. But unfortunately, he seems not to follow the route that we are supposed to follow, and the route that every other Kenyan is following. Should we go the Tanzanian way, where once the election is done, no going to contest, no nothing, the person who's declared is the winner, and that's it? Do you think we need that? No, I think in Kenya, the institutions that we have are strong enough to deal with that. Okay. The problem is that some people believe that they are above the law and they don't follow the law as it is. So right now, as we talk, you have realized that even in the recent past, so many like the government of the day has also not been honoring the court orders. That simply tells you that it is not the problem with the law. The problem we have is because there are some people who think they are above the law and they cannot follow the law as it is. So this BBI has not addressed anything to do with the post-election violence, because they are just giving vague solutions. I believe even if we introduce as many posts as possible at the top, it will never cure that problem. Okay. Look at this situation. BBI, for example, in that article that introduces the leader of official opposition, it is telling us that the leader of official opposition shall be the person who becomes number 2 in the presidential race. And then it gives another condition that that person must be having 25% of members of parliament. Okay. From his own party. What does that one tell us? That, for example, because our constitution gives us an opportunity to vie as an independent candidate. If an independent candidate vies and by any chance it becomes number 2, okay, that person will not be in a position to become a leader of opposition, just because he does not have the 25% in parliament. That is a very good recipe for chaos.
And that is why I'm saying we might be moving from bad to worse, by the way.
Right.
Because that can become a very serious crisis. And in fact, if such a situation happens, what will happen? Who will now get that position of the leader of official position? Because if you decide to go to the number 3, then that number 3 does not qualify, because the first requirement is that he must be number 2.
Well, wait a minute. You're really thinking so hard on this one. I mean, that would be really a rare occurrence, for instance, and mostly for, presidential candidates, as we have seen in the past, that in most cases they will always hold a party. And, sometimes by the time you declare this is because you probably enjoy massive support in the country. Why do you read so hard into this?
You know why? Look at the situation now. Most of the politicians right now are actually very, they are not really willing to go the party way.
Yes.
You'll be surprised that in 2022 general election, you'll find so many independent candidates.
Why would one want to be in government, an independent candidate, understanding very well the importance of what plays out at the level of the House? Because, I mean, if one would not want to, I doubt there's a president who would want to have a hung parliament where you are the president, but you do not have support in parliament. Then what will you be doing as a president? Because then you will have these people, and you'll need these people to pass bills, to speak about, your agendas. It is instrumental that as a president, even if you strategize, you strategize on getting yourself. And I remember in 2017, the way President Uhuru Kenyatta, even 2013, the way they were coming out there to remind people that, in all these 6 levels of voting, kindly vote a Jubilee member of parliament, because it is instrumental for us to run the government. So why would you want to go it out independent if by any chance you become the president? What happens to you?
The illustration you have just given is actually the reason why people don't want to have parties to go party line, because look at the Jubilee party, for example. Like for example, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto went around telling Kenyans that we need you to give Jubilee candidates their votes so that we have enough numbers in parliament. But as we talk now, it's quite absurd that you can see a ruling party which is going to look for the opposition, a ruling party with a majority in parliament is going to look for opposition. And you wonder what's the need for that? It simply means
the DP speaks of that.
Not actually peace, because if you look at the Jubilee, this is a very good plan that was there. It was hacked a long time ago, and as you can see, Jubilee has been divided into 2. It has split into 2 just because a party leader does not want to follow the law as it is. If you look at those people, for example, who were kicked away, like the Kidure Kidiki, even Ilongo Kangata, and all those other leaders who were whipped, you realize that these people, the party leader did not follow the law. And you see, even those people who are alleged to have signed the removal of those leaders, most of them are saying that they never signed for any document. That simply means
room for appeal. Yes.
So the parties in Kenya are actually owned by individuals, and that is why I'm saying it is not very hard to find an independent candidate even becoming a president, because it's not about the party now. It is about the leadership and the respect you command in parliament.
Okay, hold it right there, and I am glad that we already have gotten a hold of Dr. Moses Mwangi, who joins us via Skype. Dr. Good morning.
Good morning, Linda. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm happy to hear from you. Some bit of a technical hitch, but we're glad you managed to be here. And we've talked about the CBC, but importantly, we are into that line of politics. And I'm sure you've had some bit of the debate and the argument that is ongoing here in the country. President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday held this cabinet meeting, but the sad reality is that while it was for key officials within the Jubilee party, within the government, Deputy President William Ruto was missing in action, was absent for this particular session. And according to his allies and himself, he argues that he wasn't invited for the same. And so that brings us to the conversation of the handshake and how instrumental it has been for us, one, to enjoy peace if at all there's been any, while, I mean, we also acknowledge that they say peace is not the absence of war. And so we need to take note of that. Do you suppose then that President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his quest for unity, in his quest for peace, in his quest for, pushing the BBI is not getting or was not able to get the right solutions to the problems that we face today. Because if he talks about unity and incorporated Right Honorable Raila Odinga into the handshake agreement, and then again misses out on, his deputy who equally enjoys so much support, what does it speak in terms of this quest?
Let's say this. I think the president was keen on having a united nation. I think sometimes Kenyans, we forget very, very easily where we've come from. And it's important to remember, by the time the handshake was on, the country was in chaos.
Yes.
The country was splitting. I think the ODM, the NASA people were threatening to secede or to divide the country because of the injustices they felt had been meted on them during the election. So, to the extent that the president managed to bring calm into the nation, and nobody has been on the street since then throwing stones, businesses have been running well, and the country is at peace. And peace is a very, very important matter. Now, regarding the differences that have now come into the open between the president, who is looking at the long-term, the legacy that he can leave the country, the fact that there's a difference between him and the deputy is very, very unfortunate. And it is something that we as Kenyans do not like. But it is the reality. It's a marriage, just like two people who walk down the aisle and they get married and marriage becomes difficult. It doesn't mean that because one marriage has not worked, that other people should not get married. So in a sense, there's a problem in Jubilee. And I think the president, being the president, he has to get his job done. Maybe they need a counselor to bring them together. Otherwise, I think what the president is doing is saying, look, I have an agenda to do. The deputy, his deputy is focused on 2022. And so they have gone different ways in terms of what is their priority at the moment. But I think it is not good for the country. It is not something that was envisaged in the constitution. I think even though the BBI is on the table, I think one of the other things we can see is that our democracy is not yet too much mature to the level that the US is. We saw Trump, we saw Mike Pence, and I think towards the end, they were also not reading from the same script. But Mike Pence, respectively stood back and led the president of the day, even though he didn't agree with all the things that he was doing, he stood back. And I think our deputy, who has a lot of following in this nation, should find it in his heart to let the president and support him to the end. So that's what I would say. But I want to say that the fact that this marriage has not worked does not mean that we don't have marriages. In other words, politically, for a multi-party democracy, Kenya is a multi-party democracy. Right. And give it to them. I think the ODM brigade, in terms of party management, they seem to have done much better than any other current party in terms of what they are trying to do. I don't know. I don't want to say that maybe if they were the ruling party, how they would behave. But I think we've seen them organize their house. We've seen them bring out. I think the Jubilee Party never really became a party. Well, it never really became a party. It was only a ticket for people. The organs never really came together. And that's the reality of the situation. But that does not mean that as a nation we should not build strong parties. Because it is parties that bring policies. So we should work hard, and I would hope that going forward there would be coalition of parties not on the basis of winning an election, but on the basis of ideology, and that is a step that Kenya has not yet got to.
All right, Daktari, and so much more on that one, especially on the angle that, Julius brings on board. And so we'll be looking at that extensively after this particular break.
TV47, the home of untold stories. What's the perfect way to kickstart School of Medical Health, Science and Technology? We offer highly competitive courses tailor-made to suit your needs. These include certificate and a diploma in theatre technology, medical engineering, nutrition and dietetics, radiography and sonography, science lab, health records, environmental health science, counseling psychology, applied biology, social work and community development, information and communication technology, among others. Register now at our Nairobi campus in Nairobi West around Nyayo National Stadium on 0700-129536. Our Juja campus next to Jomo Kenyatta University on 0700-000760. And our Kisumu campus opposite Swan Center, Oginga Odinga Street on 0703-201229. Trisent School of Medical Health, Science and Technology. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Only on TV47.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
When you get Showmax, you get instant access to full seasons of award-winning series and blockbuster movies.
It's amazing.
You get shows you won't find anywhere else, like Showmax Originals. You get awesome kids shows.
Freaking awesome.
Amazing dockies.
You literally cannot make this up.
And now, you also get world-class sport from Super Sport.
Everything's out of control.
All ready and waiting for you to watch online on your smartphone, tablet, desktop, or smart TV, wherever and whenever you like.
Whoa.
So what are you waiting for? Go to showmax.com to sign up. From football seasons to binge-worthy seasons, you'll get it all on Showmax. One platform, endless entertainment.
Afisas, nina criminal ameniibia kitu kwa nyumba.
Funga hii twende ofisa. Fande bufungua hapa. Simkule ka breakfast kidogo alafu twende. Twende mshakula evidence. Atunini? Exhibit mumekula.
What's the perfect way to kickstart your day in the morning? Well, apart from having a healthy breakfast, the morning cafe is
maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani.
We will inform
Kaluma
you
Strong
on
hutuliza
what's
maumivu ya
happening
kichwa,
on the
maumivu ya
roads.
mwili na hata uondoa
Into
joto
the
jingi mwilini.
newspapers.
Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
You are watching TV47. Did you know of your greatest stories?
Welcome back to the broadcast. Still with me, Dr. Moses Mwangi, who's a governance expert, and also Julius Njuguna Mwangi, who's also a governance expert, as we expound on what the papers detail. But importantly, just look at a comprehensive look on some of these key stories, because it is crucial that we have debates revolving around this. In about a minute before I loop Julius in, Dr. kindly weigh into what he speaks about. The fact that the BBI is here sounds like a solution to very many problems, but equally, when you critically look at it, the mechanisms, the reality of some of these clauses being incorporated in the document, being implemented to the latter is one thing that, lingers, or is a question that, it gets us wondering whether it is indeed a good document as projected. President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday acknowledging that his key wish is for us as a country to be able to enjoy peace after he's left, for the leaders to ensure that the BBI sails through because it has the ultimate solutions or majority of solutions to the problems that face us, and also the aspect of the Big Four agenda. Even as he wishes to see or to attain this legacy, one would want to ask whether there is a time for him to be able to do this. But a bit less focus on what, Julius brings on board, on the fact that even with the aspect of leadership, in the event that today we have an independent candidate, who is going out there to battle it, to become president, they land position 2, and all this, the nitty-gritty details that, revolve around the change of system of governance. Just how realistic are some of these clauses that are incorporated in the referendum bill that we speak about, that is at the level of the counties today?
I think the only perfect document that we have is the Bible.
Okay.
But when it comes to constitutions like our constitution of 2010, which we are now trying to amend with the first amendment to bring in the changes that are envisaged in the BBI, it will move the country forward. It will move us from the state we are in to a different state. But it is not the perfect solution. In future, we will do a second amendment and a third amendment. The American Constitution has more than 25 amendments. So therefore, I think we should not in any way confuse the public.
Yes.
By saying that the BBI is the panacea to solve all the problems. No, but it moves forward. For example, I would tell you the idea of having a ward development fund, award fund in the constitution will help MCAs on the ground be able to perform their role of oversight on the executive without fear. As opposed to the current scenario where if you don't sing the tune of the governor as an MCA, you are denied resources and therefore your people see you as a non-performer. That is a way forward in terms of, getting closer to what we can call one man, one vote, one shilling. It is not getting us there, but it is moving us forward from a scenario where you have an MP like we have in Keharo with 115,000 voters taking home 100 million, and another one with 30,000 voters taking the same. So there is an element of trying to narrow the gap in terms of representation. So in a way, I think, and that's why we need to delink the conversation for BBI with the conversation for 2022, because 2022 is, is an election, but the BBI is what really we would say the First Amendment.
But Dr. Is it really realistic to even think of, delinking these two conversations? Because in as much as the gentlemen agree that, well, we should finish with the referendum talk first to the 2022, it is instrumental on what will play out in 2022. So it's almost, inevitable for us to do that.
It is instrumental to the extent that if we pass the document, there will be 6 more constituencies in Kiambu. So Kiambu people and central people, so to speak, will have more members of parliament, as opposed to the scenario where now they are underrepresented. So to that extent, yes, it is instrumental. You will find that for counties where they find they are gaining in terms of representation, and these are the areas that are highly populated, whether it is Western Kenya, whether it is Nyanza, whether it is Kilifi, So to that extent, yes. But for us as Kenyans to be able to think about our country, the reason why we are saying let us delink, because the moment we link, then we'll be looking at those who are supporting vis-a-vis those who are not supporting, and the reason for not supporting may be based on what they see as their best opportunity for 2022. So I think as it is realistic. I think so. It is realistic, and if you go to the crowd, like in Murang'a, where I come from, and I think people know I ran for governor there.
Yes.
The conversation for BBI, which has been going on it has helped people to understand, and therefore, like yesterday, there was public participation. When they now go to the MCAs, go to the assembly on Tuesday or whatever the time next week, they have a better thing. They were not going out for public participation to be elected in 2022. That's the point. So it's realistic, and I think it's happening. And then after that, we can now focus on the elections of 2022, and then 5 years later, we focus on the election for 2027, which this new amendment will affect, and maybe another 10 years, we can come with another second amendment to look at the issues that would be affecting the country at the time.
All right, well, let's come back to you and talk. I don't know how best we can run away from 2022. Raila was Kitui and Kibwana as 2022 realignments come on board. That declaring of Mohisa Kitui that he would love to be, president for the country. What do you make of it? First coming from the central region, and in most cases we've seen leaders cropping up from the Western region, but in most cases the argument has been that they identify themselves more with the people from the Western region. Do you suppose that this is an individual that would carry a face or the national face in as much as they hail from this region?
Leader, if you allow me, I just because that I just
to respond okay, no problem, proceed.
Yeah, and I say hi to Dr. Moses. I always say he is my governor because I really believe in this man.
Oh yeah, Dr. Moses, I hope you're hearing that.
Yes, and
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Yeah, but I allow me to disagree with him a bit because we have just talked about the BBI and the burden that we have as Kenyans, and I am saying I don't have a problem with the diagnosis. Dr. Ali will agree with me. You can do a very good diagnosis, but you give the wrong prescription. The prescription we are being given by the BBI amendment bill is the problem, because even if we amend the constitution and we give more problems than we had, that will not solve any issue. Like for example, you see the expansion of the legislature. Like Dr. Moses just talked about the new constituencies. We are talking about moving increasing numbers of constituencies from 290 to 360 in the hope that we are going to solve the problem of things like the CDF that goes to the ground. But look at this. We are bringing new members up to 360, and then we are saying that to ensure that we have the gender balance, or the gender rule is adhered to, we have to nominate. If you do calculations and with the dynamics of our country politics, you realize that we are likely to nominate close to 180 new members of parliament to meet the gender rule. And then we have the others, the ones representing the disabled people, the youth and such. So then we are saying that as one senator per county is not enough, so we need 2. Instead of having 47 senators, we now have 94. So if you do the calculation very well, you realize that we are broadening our parliament from 416 members of parliament to about 640. The difference, we are increasing by 224 new members of parliament. Then do the calculation. Remember, it's not just numbers. These are people who will be paid with taxpayers' money. And Wanjiku is the one who will pay. It is not the people who are promoting the BBI. It is us, the Wanjikos. If you look, to maintain one member of parliament, you do calculation, you realize you require about 2 million per month to maintain one member of parliament. Meaning, for these 224 members of parliament, then Wanjiku has to pay 448 millions per month.
There will be more. There will be around 360.
Yes, equivalent to about 5.3 billions per year. Then if you are telling us that you want more funds to the constituencies, then I think the better solution would have been, remember this is money that will go to individuals, those who are members of parliament. If you take these 5.3 billions that you are giving to the new members of parliament, who sometimes you find they are girlfriends of some people, then it means if, for example, you share this with the 70 constituencies that you are saying that you are going to share to divide, if you divide the 5.3 billions by the 70 new constituencies that you are giving, then it means every constituency can get an additional CDF of about 77 million per constituency. Then, so it simply means that's the solution of giving money to the Wajiko. It is not through those the people. What we need is just to deal with the CDF Act that we have in Parliament. We just deal with it without necessarily going to the referendum, because that's a provision. The CDF is just an act of Parliament which can be amended. Look at this number. The 224 new members of Parliament are enough to take care of or to employ about 600 or 6,000 medical doctors, by the way.
All right.
And by the way, for your information, Leader, you are hearing the proponents of BBI telling the young people about the help.
Yes.
And how they are going to get a holiday for 4 years. You know, if you are so genuine that you want to give solution to the young people, I believe the same money that you are using to bring to the parliament, which is about 5.3 billions, and a university student usually get an average of 40,000 per year in the help loan. It simply means one member of parliament you are adding is able, the amount, the 2 million is able to take care of at least 600. The 224 members of parliament can take care of about one member of parliament can take care of 600 students without loans, but giving them a grant for university fees.
All right.
So we cannot be using some carrots when we are actually increasing the wage bill, and yet the debt is too huge. As we talk now, every Kenyan, including the one who is born today, has a debt of about 138,000. When Kibaki was living in 2012, every Kenyan had a debt of about 45,000.
Right.
So we are moving from bad to us, and then we are now bringing more problem and more burden to Wajiko. Then we are giving 5 billion to MCA so that they can pass this. But Wajiko is the one now to save the country. If they so wish to add more burden,
then let it be so.
We can't.
Well, as they would say, we can only wait and make a decision at the level of the ballot. Yes.
So now on the matter of this politics of regions, I think it's high time now Kenyans will start moving from where we have been. We have done tribal politics for far too long. And these tribal politics are actually not taking us anywhere. Today, if you ask me, I am a Kikuyu from Murang'a County. I'm so disturbed by the statements that are coming from our leaders that we need to pass BBI because mtu wetu anatoka. Who is mtu wetu? I mean, it is our high time we now start talking about Kenyans. We bring the nationhood. Unfortunately, this is coming even from our leaders. I heard the president the other day, whom we respect very much, telling us that ni vizuri tupitishe BBI ndio tuweze kuleta pesa huku kwetu, nataka kuacha mikononi ya watu wazuri. And I wonder, who has the power to give to appoint a president? That is only that power only sits with the wananchi wenyewe. So this is a big problem that we are having, and this tribal politics actually need to come to an end. Let me tell you, Linda, today as we talk, our children, in fact those people who live in urban areas, not only in Nairobi but even other areas, do not even speak those tribal languages. Some of these, can you imagine wale watu ambao watavote in 2022 are those people who were born around 2004. These are people who do not necessarily need, don't care which tribe they are. When they are going to party, for parties and such, they don't care which tribe the other person is.
Let's be realistic for a moment and acknowledge the fact that we are an ethno-majoritarian society. And coming to you, to Dr. Moses, when we speak about the politics of tribe, one, many have argued that we've been hypocritical on how we approach this, that deep within us we celebrate and we appreciate the tribes that we hail from. But also on the other hand, when you hear President Uhuru Kenyatta says that, you know what, it's probably now time that we have a conversation of, two communities having led the nation and all that, very many many people came out guns blazing, trying to remind the president that, oh, you are the symbol of unity, you should not speak about this. Some leaders say and acknowledge the fact that, in as much as we might castigate the president, there is that need that we sit ourselves down and have this candid discussion, because reality is that the politics of drive have been running the nation. Just how do we get ourselves out of this? Mukisa the other day declaring his interest to run the country, there are some people within the Western region that reminded him, you know what, you're not even popular at home. So what makes you think you can go out there and sell yourself as a national outfit? The likes of Mudavadi, the likes of Kalonzo, many have argued that maybe they could be good leaders for the country. But then again, the only narrative they speak so much, or they identify themselves more, or from what it is or where it is that they hail from, as opposed to that face of the nation.
When it comes to elective politics, which is what we have in a democracy, you have to win followers, and leadership is about influence. It's about influencing people to follow you. And I think we all know that charity begins at home. I don't like to talk about tribes myself.
Yeah.
I do not see myself from the prism of a tribe. Where I work and I'm CEO, I employ people from all parts of Kenya and have always done so in wherever I am. And I think for me, we should detribalize, de-ethnicize our conversations, even in matters politics, because and I think I dare say that probably the issue about tribes come up during elections. But let's face it, if I want to be Governor Murang'a, as I do, I come from a village called Kaharo in Geda Ward in Maragua.
Mm-hmm.
If I cannot influence my local polling station, if I cannot influence my clan so that they give me votes and they see the leadership that I have, because they are the ones who know me, how can I then go and influence my friend Johona there in Kanyanyaine? We have charity begins at home.
Yes.
And it so happens that people live in certain villages at the moment, except in the city of Nairobi and maybe city of Mombasa, and we should have more and more cities where we have more integration. You will find that if you go to Kibwezi, you are going to find the people living in Kibwezi are Kabas.
Okay.
So to that extent, let's face it, reality is such that politics is first of all local, before it can become regional, before it can become national,
okay.
Even we talk about Africa, so to speak. So to that extent, we can't run away from the reality that we need to begin at home.
Okay.
But I would rather, we are not saying that I am going back to my Kikuyu people. No, I am going back to my village. I am going back to my ward. I am going back to my constituency. I am going back to my region so that I win followers there. Then I win followers nationally. But be that as it may be, I think we are, when I see former Prime Minister Raila Odinga going to talk to Governor Kifutha Kibwana, having along Senator James Orengo, having along Dr. Mukisa Kitui. What I see there is not tribe. What I see there are leaders who are trying to coalesce together to come up with a formation or a coalition, just like Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka and Weta and and Gideon Moi are also trying to get together to form a formation. And then we can see another one, Deputy President and others. And if we can have like 3 or so formations, eventually now we will not begin to see tribes. Those people, as these coalitions emerge, we begin to see people talking about what is it that they are going to do for the nation. So I think, in my view, we are moving forward as a nation. It is a pity that we have taken 60 years in our democracy, and we have been very, very much driven the tribal talk and so forth. We must find a way of getting away from this. It is not a trap. And as a national leader, as a leader myself, I tell you, I never use the word tribalism. I don't. Why should I? The more you talk about something, the more you make it look real.
Okay.
And even if it is a lie, they say if you repeat a lie 100 times, it looks like the truth. The truth of the matter is that when I go to Kahawa West,
yes,
where I am involved in a number of activities there, whether it is in the church or it is in a school that I'm chairman, I have all the nobody talks about it.
Right.
So let's get away from this. It is toxic for our nation.
Okay.
Let us talk about Kenya. Let us talk about what we can do. But on the other hand, politically, I have to win. Mukisa Kitui has to go back to Western Kenya, his village, and win followers there. If he can't win followers there, how can he then convince us that he's a leader? That's it.
All right, well, he met Baba yesterday. We do not know what it is that they discussed, but then extensively it has to do with 2022 politics. But even as we revolve around the aspect of tribe and where we reside from, there's this one story that has been lingering around, and I'd love to briefly, or for us to briefly just speak about it. Storm over Mwende Mwinzi's Korea job, and members of parliament are angered by news that the envoy reported on duty despite recommendation that she renounces her American citizenship fast. This aspect of dual citizenship and just how much you can represent your country if you're holding a dual citizenship. I would want to speak of it. I would want to look at it as, the angle of tribe, but, on a larger scale or on a huger, perspective of view. What do you make of this? And now the members of parliament say that she should not assume this position until she renounces her citizenship, that is the American citizenship. But she has not been able to do that for quite a while since this conversation started.
So I think that that's actually a little bit different from what tribalism
yes, the tribe
is.
Aspect is, yes.
Because, these are some of things that even the Constitution really talks about. Because there are some positions that requires that you pay allegiance, 100% allegiance to your nation. And I think that is one thing that I don't think it's a bad thing, because sometimes it's also good to know that just like individuals, even countries have enemies. And that is why sometimes allegiance is a key thing. Yes. So I think that's not a very bad move. But when you come back to the issue of the tribalism, I think what Dr. Moses is saying is really good, because he's talking about home. He's not talking about the tribe. The only challenge that we have in Kenya is that people are actually coming together when it comes to the general election, and they start saying that we belong to this tribe and the other tribe. Yeah. And that's why I'm liking this conversation that is going on today, because as we currently, there is a very serious conversation about the economic model of our nation, that people are talking now in terms of the economic well-being. How can we improve the lives of the Kenyans without necessarily talking about politics of tribes? Yeah. And this narrative, and the other day I was surprised to hear a few guys talking, trying to assume that the talk about this thing that they are calling, people are calling hustler, it's a fight between the poor and the rich. Yes. And I find them so confused, because what this narrative, as far as I have seen it, they are talking about the models that are going to uplift the lives of Kenyans. Yeah. Those who have been left kept aside, and they have not actually benefited from the economy of Kenya. And a good example is whatever I was just talking about. Like now, the BBI is talking about the seats of a few people, like those new members of parliament, 224. And then we are told we do not have money. The Treasury is telling us we do not have money to take care of the Kazi Mtaani initiative. And yet, these new members of parliament are going to spend about 5 billion with the new members of parliament. So we have money for that, to pay those people for all those years, because it will affect even generations to come. Unfortunately, people are thinking it's about 2022. And then this wananchi wale wako chini, pesa yao haipatikani. You know, that's a conversation that every Kenyan needs to embrace. And we start thinking in terms of the models that we have, so that we don't just leave these people. Like now the young people, the youth, the number of young people are so many who are jobless.
Yes.
As we talk now, the wage bill, we are talking about 900 billions in Kenya, yet it represents only 2% of the population. The wage bill that we are paying is just being given to 2% of the population. Where are the others? So it is our high time now we start moving from the politics of tribes, and we start talking about politics of issues, politics of empowering, politics of helping our people come from poverty and move to the higher levels.
Let's speak about that. Let's speak about that and look at the events of yesterday, Dr. Moses. President Uhuru Kenyatta tells these high-end individuals in government that you are with me or not. And as he tells them this, he says his biggest interest as at now is, one, to get to that realization of the Big Four agenda, the aspect of unity, and the fact that the BBI should sail through. I know we've extensively touched on the BBI, but one, as a governance expert, what do you make of the fact that, well, the DP was not there, or so to speak, he was not invited, and what does it mean? Do you suppose then that the president has a chance of realizing some of these things that he wishes to before he exits the stage?
Linda, let's look at the mind of the president, and let us remember, I mean, he's not going to run again as president. He and his government was elected on the basis of a manifesto.
Yes.
As a nation, we cannot be a nation where we politic from January to December, immediately after the elections until the next election. We cannot develop. We cannot even expand our economy. And therefore, I feel him when he brings his government together and say, people, we have a job to do. We have to deliver to Kenyans the Big Four agenda. The Big Four agenda, I belong to the healthcare system in Kenya has been in trouble. If you are sick today, you have a problem, accessing services. If we can achieve, or rather make steps towards achieving universal healthcare, we will be helping Wajiko on the ground, who is downtrodden. If we make steps towards solving the housing problem, we have increasing population in our cities, so the housing problem is an urgent, important problem, and it affects the people in Mathare, the people in Kibera, and so forth. We need to think about these people. Manufacturing, and I'm also in the manufacturing sector, and I'm happy that where I work, we have created more than 150 jobs in the last 2 years. And maybe by the end of the year, we'll create another 100 jobs because we are building a new factory. Okay. Because Kenya and Africa, one of the thing that holds us back from developing is that we don't have enough manufacturing sector. So I think what the president is saying is he's rallying his government together. Those were his CSs. Those were his PSs. He's telling them, let's focus on the job. Because some of them are already campaigning and they're in government. How do you cannot serve two masters? So now the fact that the DP was upset from this meeting, as I said earlier, for me it is unfortunate, because he's the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. They are tied together. However, you can also see the president is upset because, for whatever reason, they are not reading from the same script. And if you are not reading from the same script, he's saying, let's not pretend. You want to campaign, go on with the campaign. I want to deliver, let me deliver. it is not a healthy situation for our country. But be it as it may be, Linda.
Yes.
You know, if I have a problem, or if someone has a problem in their marriage, you know, when they come out there, they don't stop living. They have to keep on living. Then you'll go back to your home and see how to live. So I don't know how they are gonna survive. But we as Kenyans expect that we should receive services. We are paying taxes, and I think the president is in order to focus on the things that make sense to Kenyans, rather than just talk and talk and talk.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Moses Mwangi, governance expert, and Njuguna Mwangi, governance expert. Yes, time flies that fast. It is actually it's past time, 7:34. We're supposed to close it at now, unless 30 seconds. That's the most I can give.
Yes, can you give me that second? Because I just want to address a very key issue that Dr. Moses has just touched. You know, it's good to be very truthful to ourselves.
Yes.
That as much as that we don't agree politically, it is important that we give space to each other, because like, for example, the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya is not actually appointed by the president. He has been given a mandate by the country. It's the people who give him the mandate, and he was elected. So it is important to give him space to work. If he is not given space to work, of course, because his work is to assist the president, if there is nothing to assist, then there is no problem. And let us not say that the deputy has been doing campaigns. I have not seen him do campaigns. I have seen him talk to people everywhere.
Is it so?
This is what has been happening all along, because I want you to remember in 2011, President Uhuru Kenyatta was all over the country, going around trying to look to talk to people. Even one day, my former member of parliament, Honorable John Mechuki, in 2011, said publicly that if you want to come to Mount Kenya region, you have to look for Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
So what is wrong with the deputy president meeting people, and yet he is doing the work of the people who elected him?
Well,
he must be given the space to do his work, and if he is not given the work by the president, then he cannot be denied the right to meet the people.
Okay, well, meet and greet, so to speak, or meet and greet and eat. That is a conversation for another day. I'd have loved for us to expound some more on the same, but time would not allow us. Once again, gentlemen, thank you so much, Dr. Moses Mwangi and Njuguna Mwangi. It was good having you this morning. We bring it to a close, but not just yet 100%. We'll be crossing over to a different segment altogether. Matters Entertainment. I see DJ Sashi on standby already, so keep sending those requests, and she will be playing this music for you, and we'll also be having Bire the vocalist and some dancers on board. I find it so hard to pronounce their name, Disarian dancers, and it will be an incredible moment all the way to 9 a.m. so don't you go anywhere. Thank you so much once again. Do have yourself a lovely one, Njuguna and Daktari